another edition of the Michigan Lacrosse Review. My name is Greg Normand. Well, this is the start of our 5th season, and we're going to bring you a brand new type of show that we hope you'll enjoy. It's going to be more about segments and giving you information other than just opinions, and I think that's something that will be pretty cool. Up front today on this show is Ryan Powell from Powell Lacrosse. If you're not familiar with the Powell family, Casey, Mikey, and Ryan, probably 3 of the best ever. Ryan was a 4-time All-American at Syracuse, and he's going to talk about his days in the MLL, and that's something I think you'll find to be a really good show. Mostly we're going to talk about the equipment that they're selling and some new innovations, and I think that'll be a fun conversation. We're going to check in with J.D. Hess, who's now the new coach at Detroit Country Day. He's formerly of Cranbrook, and he's made a move across town. He's a former Birmingham Seaholm player, as well as a member of the University of Detroit Mercy team. We're going to talk to him. Bryce Brubaker will be with us to talk a little bit about New Balance shoes and all the opportunities that provide for your feet. And we're going to have an equipment section, and Bryce will be bringing that information. Obviously, we're at 313 today, and they're going to kind of be our guide to what you're going to wear come spring. We also want to bring you some insight. Chris Colin's going to talk to us a little bit about recruiting. We're going to get into the nitty-gritty about what to expect. Chris is the now director of Team 91 Michigan and the former University of Detroit Mercy head coach and former Rutgers defenseman. I think he's going to give you some good insight. We're going to bring you an October, November, and December show, and I think that'll be really cool. Then we'll start up in January every couple of weeks, trying to bring you the same quality. We'll get into the teams, the players, the equipment, and all that represents, and we'll be back with Ryan Powell in just a couple seconds.
Man, it's lonely. Going through life lonely.
There is the therapeutic aspect of music.
We're chatting with the great Ryan Powell, middle brother of probably one of the best lacrosse families ever, and we're going to have a chance to talk about equipment and all kinds of stuff. Obviously, the logo behind me, they've done a lot of work in the field of lacrosse. But I want to ask you 2 questions. You didn't pick up this sport until you're in the 7th grade. Fair?
No, I actually first got introduced to the sport of lacrosse when I was in 3rd grade. My brother Casey was in 5th, and our elementary phys ed teacher brought in a lacrosse stick that he played club lacrosse with, and he showed us the stick, and we picked it up, and you couldn't throw perfect every time. You couldn't catch the ball, and he only had 1 stick, so we were just doing stuff off the wall. And then there was something about it that was extremely catchy to it because of those things.
Okay.
And so we talked my dad into bringing us down to the local mall and getting us a couple sticks. So Casey and I were the first 2 kids in our small town of Carthage, New York, to have sticks. And then, Greg, to your point, the lacrosse program at Carthage started when I was in the 7th grade.
Okay. Because the other thing I know about you, and we share this, is we're both quarterbacks. So that's also, in an athletic world, it gives you a little different insight to the process, and it gives you a little different to the process because quarterbacks have to know all those positions, which is one of your great staples as a player. One of the best that ever played the sport was your vision. You had great vision.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I, just love sports, all sports. I played everything as a kid growing up and loved to compete, but, you really pick up a lot from playing a lot of different things, but you're right on about being a quarterback on the football field. You certainly have to know what everybody else is doing, and you're thinking it through at all times. So big responsibility, but exactly the way I wanted it.
4-time All-American in Syracuse, obviously great career in the MLL. We've had a conversation with all kinds of folks. J. Joe Bear's been on, Canabini. We did a lot of the PLL guys. It's the first time I get a chance to talk to you, but we know your lacrosse prowess. You did some coaching. Talk a little bit about how you got involved in Powell Lacrosse.
Yeah, so after I got done with college, I graduated Syracuse in 2000, and I started working for Warrior Lacrosse as kind of a brand ambassador. A couple of years later, I found myself living out in Birmingham, Michigan, and Warrior was headquartered in Warren. And so I was going into the office every day, and I sat with the product development, the main guy, Matt Winningham, on a daily basis, and kind of worked with him and saw kind of the insight. So I became very interested at that time. And then, after my days with Warrior, I went to Brine for a couple of years. And then my last kind of hurrah with the other competing lacrosse companies was Nike. I was the first fully endorsed lacrosse athlete at Nike. And the same thing applied there. They let me come into product development meetings. Some of those were for footwear. So I was world class, obviously, with the Nike brand and some of the meetings that I was able to sit into. So I was kind of getting paid at Nike to be a brand ambassador and also help out with their line of products. They came out with some sticks and things like that. When I retired in 2013, my new offer from Nike was half of what they were offering me originally. And I said at that time, I said, you know what? I've been around it and I know how to do all of this stuff. So that's kind of what I did. And we founded and started the company in 2015. And it started kind of with a lacrosse shaft and through the connections that I had developed over the years. Some guys at the vice president of Nike Golf at the time, he was my first call, he was then at Louisville Slugger. So I had some great guidance and great people to kind of tap into along the journey, and I still do. I'm tapping into those contacts all the time, but it's been fun to develop and to see this all come to life.
Where I'm sitting here in the middle of Pontiac, we're literally only about 12 miles from where you used to work at Warrior. Obviously, it's a local place, and Tuesday nights used to be extraordinary because all of the guys would go over to Birmingham's Seaholm and have pickup ball. My son played for the University of Denver for 4 years, and he used to go over and play with a lot of the guys from Billy Bing and all those guys from Warrior. And it used to be some fun to watch as a coach because you'd see some of the best players in the world having a chance to display their when nobody was watching and the television wasn't on. It was a little bit like the old club days before the MLO formed. I mean, it was great lacrosse, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure. Those pickup games are some of the best, for sure. And I've been fortunate in playing some of those as well when the cameras aren't on, and it's just straight fun. But they always end up becoming very competitive as well in the end.
So let me start with just from the equipment standpoint. Lacrosse, you retired in 23. Obviously, it's 12 years later. I think the sport's gotten faster. That's my opinion. I believe that to be true because you've got to play at a faster speed, which also allows smaller guys in. But here's the point. Talk about what you think the transition's been over the last 5 or 6 years and how equipment might have changed to that effect.
Well, I think the equipment's changing a little bit, not a ton from kind of where it was when I was playing. But I think that companies are getting very creative with the products that they're putting out there. You're seeing different shapes on things and different textures and different resins being used now in the heads. But the pockets kind of still remain the same. And like I said, when I was playing, that offset was still around. So the rules of the sport have kind of stayed the same. And there hasn't been a crazy amount of innovation, we'll say, in the last several years. Warrior had the stick that had the pocket right into it. But it wasn't very well received by lacrosse players because that's the most unique piece that we got. Everybody throws a little bit different, has a little different style. So, I think it's been very steady, but you're seeing great kind of new looks, if you will. So the basic shapes and are getting messed with a little bit. And like I said, the resins have really come a long way. You see ECD has a very popular head out there, and it's a clear plastic. So people are being extremely creative as far as that goes.
There's been attempts with carbon fiber at various levels, small companies, large companies. Have you guys worked much? It's really snuck into the sail racing world. Has it snuck into anything at your level?
Yeah, we're seeing carbon fiber for sure. We have shafts in our line. I personally don't love them, but there is a need for them. There's some players that prefer going with the carbon fiber shafts. We're doing a lot of innovation or trying different materials in our shaft lines with the aluminum alloys. So that's kind of something that we have ongoing and are constantly doing. But you're seeing some different materials for sure. But again, the shape stays very similar as they got to fit onto that lacrosse head and meet the specs.
What is it you don't like about it? Just curious.
I haven't liked them. I don't think that they hold up great, to be honest with you. I've used some over the years, and I've broken more carbon fiber than getting a little dent in a metal shaft. And I'm not supposed to be getting checked either, so I can't.
Oh, I get that. We involved in the sailing world, and we're on a sailboat for a race in the Queens Cup in Lake Michigan, and saw a 95-foot mast crack at its base, at the base of the boat. And it turns out that they don't break like metal, they splinter, obviously. So here's a bunch of guys on a sailboat, a 50-foot sailboat, trying to use hacksaws to get the thing down so the boat didn't sink. It's crazy material, and I get that part. And it hasn't changed in a lot of sports, and it has its issues, that's for sure.
Yeah, and it's you got to mess with the weight and things like that and what the players' needs are. So we have one that's coming out. We believe that it's going to be the strongest carbon fiber shaft that's been offered to date. So we are thinking that this one's going to hold up, but we'll see what the market thinks about it because you also got to kind of be in the area of their preference when it comes to the weight of the shaft.
At this point in the game, are wood shafts novelties in your mind?
We're still making them and putting some time into it, to be honest with you. And it's, novelty in the fact that these aren't something that players are necessarily going out and playing with, unless maybe you're a coach warming up a goalie. But we're making some on the award front, where teams will put their players, the seniors on their team, they'll put their players' last name and their number on there, and then their school on the other side. So we're still doing some of that. And I just actually got off a call with my brother Mike, who's the head of our product development here, and he's got some exciting plans for a wooden shaft that we're going to bring to market, and that should happen in the next couple months.
Since you're a lot closer to R&D than I am, I have this conversation almost every year with every kid in every clinic we've run. They have to have a face-off head. And I think that's the Trevor Baptiste approach to things, Greg Gregorian. Does a regular high school face-off guy really need a face-off stick and then a regular stick he plays midfield? Just your thoughts.
Yeah, I believe that there's some advantages to it, and you see the best players in the game. And I don't know the face-off world. Those guys are a different breed, just like the goaltenders are. And I don't really know the ins and outs of it. We have a prototype of a face-off head that we've done. We worked with my face-off guy at Syracuse at the time, and he played in the MLL as well. His name is Chris Searcy. So we worked with him to kind of get feedback along the way, and he was very helpful in the process. So we're still working on that and fine-tuning it, but I think it's based on what they say. It sounds like a pretty good idea for even a high school kid to have a face-off head.
Okay.
Because there are some advantages to it.
Stronger sidewalls is probably the essential
Yes.
part.
Stronger sidewalls, yep, and the design is in a way that makes the head a little bit stiffer as well.
How much does rules drive the change of sticks or the change of equipment as compared to just the general evolution of the game itself?
I think that's where it's all where it's at. The
Yeah.
rules kind of determine what you can do, the width of your sticks and things like that. When they first came out with the up top width, that was different than kind of the pro or the college game. So if you wanted to just do one head, you had to make it wider and tell people to pinch the heads a little bit.
Right.
And now they kind of align, so you're able to kind of get away with just coming out with that one head, which is nice. But the rules of the game drive the product business for sure.
Generally, rules are based for safety. That's usually a change in rules. And some of the rules in lacrosse, the pros to the college levels are a little different, but the high school rules sometimes baffle me because they come out of nowhere sometimes, and there's not continuity between that level between high school and college. I think it was the old Evo. Warrior would actually tell you that it was if it shrunk, it was actually an illegal stick.
Yeah.
Kind of an approach. And that's why I was asking. So if you think it's important, then we'll certainly have my face-off guy will be happy. Because if Ryan Powell says it, then
Well, no, don't go by Ryan Powell.
no, I get it. I get it.
By about the face-off guy.
Yeah.
We want, with the heads that I've kind of been a part of with Mike, we have 3 new heads that are launching in the next 2 months here that we're very excited about. And, they're inspired from us being out there on the field and more so on, in between the lines or on the offensive end.
You guys are also involved in apparel, uniforms, and those kinds of things. And it's been an interesting metamorphosis to go from sort of from Blacksboro to back to we're almost back to very plain uniforms, which is what you started when you were playing at Syracuse. It wasn't all the fancy Dan and the rest of it. You see that also in the apparel world, that things are going back to sort of traditional?
Yeah, there's always a wave, and I think you kind of tap in and see where some of the leaders in the space are. Obviously, we're keeping a close eye on Nike and Under Armour, kind of on the trends, but also now doing group studies with the youth kids across the country, and we sit down with them and talk to them, and the long shorts were out, and then it was a short, and now it seems like the long shorts are coming back in. You can say that about the wide hole mesh that kind of made a push back, and now that's fizzling out again. So you just really got to try to, stay on top of it and see what the kids out there are doing across the country, and make sure that your line for the year that you're coming out with is on point.
Sublimation has changed everything, has it not?
It has, yeah. It makes it so nice to be able to print on everything, and you get so many colors and so many different designs, and it's all over printing, and the sublimation game with not just uniforms but all products. You're seeing sublimation on everything. The banner that we have that we hang on fields, and that's behind me today. All sublimated on a nice material. So it's really it has changed a lot, and it's opened up opened up the door rather to be very creative with your designs.
What's next? And I just ask, is there anything in the pipeline that you might be able to hint at a little bit as to what the process is with what you guys are doing, and maybe the sport in general?
Yeah, I think that for us, like I said, we have the 3 new heads that are coming here in just 2 months' time, and then we have a really world-class shaft line that we're extremely excited about. It's giving some amazing textures that you haven't seen before on a lacrosse shaft, along with some really cutting-edge designs. So my brother Mike, again, he's head of product development here, and he's headed up this entire project with the 3 heads and the complete shaft line. And we just got the last of our samples today, and we're feeling really good about that. In lacrosse right now, exciting times. And to your point about the game getting faster, it most certainly is. I think that training's at an all-time high. When I was in college, I rarely went into the weight room, and popping around on Instagram or Facebook now, and you're seeing videos from the weight room of these players putting up the weights that they are, and how serious everybody is about conditioning. Better athletes, faster, stronger athletes, and that's the result that you're seeing out there on the field. And most certainly when you put that with the new shot clock.
When we started this show, we ended up doing a lot of interviews with all kinds of folks. And NBC, when they were still covering the PLL, this is before ESPN had taken them, they were using some of our interviews. So I got a chance to go down and see it up close and personal. And we were starting at the time to start doing I was starting to do some color commentary for SPS games on the weekends. Now you're down at the field, and you're with the high school team every day. Then you go down and watch a Michigan and Maryland a couple years ago. And it wasn't that it wasn't fast, and you knew it was fast, but now you're standing on the field watching it. And I don't remember it being that fast, and you're starting to see a lot more guys 5'6", 5'7", 5'8", and that's a cool part, because obviously that grows the sport. But if you can't move the ball and you're not fast, defensively or otherwise, you're going to get left behind in a lot of higher level high school programs, and I think that's certainly true at the college level.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that the speed is so important now, right? Like you said, you can be a smaller guy and still succeed out there, because it's just about speed more so than the big, strong strength on the defensive end. You got to be sliding quick, and you got to be fast, and your reaction's got to be on point. So, you see that, and then also kids playing at a younger age, playing a little bit more throughout the course of the year. The stick skills are at an all-time high. So that's what you're seeing at all these Division I schools. The ball doesn't really hit the ground all that often, to be honest with you. So that adds to the speed of the game as well.
I think when you have 7-on-7, which used to be played in warm weather, California, Florida, certainly Texas, now you're seeing these opportunities for these kids to play 7-on-7. That's why you see high school kids throwing the ball so much around in cold weather countries like Syracuse, like Detroit is here. High school kids can throw the football better than we ever could. And just because of the opportunities, they have that starting at a much younger age. And I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, with the I think that we look at the Canadians and the success that they've had, and they're playing so much box lacrosse. and they are used to that quick reaction and quick stick skills. And having some of the sixes events that we have now, and more guys kind of spending some time indoors, that's all very beneficial to the stick work. The ball, you're getting with less numbers, you're getting more touches, more opportunities. And like I said, the stick skills component of the game of lacrosse right now is really fun to see.
My only complaint in America, and I'm a Canadian I'm a box guy growing up. Dad was a box guy growing up. Is there's a lot of guys teaching box in America that are really teaching lacrosse in small spaces because they don't understand box concept. They never did. And they're still renting the same indoor facility and they're just teaching catching and passing, but they're really not teaching box concepts. And that gets under my nerves sometimes because kids are paying lots of money. If you're going to have a box coach, make sure he understands the concept, which is a whole lot different than what they're being taught in small places. And I don't know if you agree with that or not, but I think at least that's my opinion around here in Detroit.
Yeah, I think that you got to be careful just kind of with the name and the brand that's put on different things for sure. I think that kind of goes across the board. So I encourage parents to really kind of do their research. If they're signing up for a box lacrosse program, that might not always mean that it's box lacrosse. You're not playing box lacrosse without the boards, understanding the bounces that come off it, the pick and roll game and things like that.
Yeah.
That's not to say that, if you're in small spaces, it should be a stick work training program with keeping the box lacrosse off there. But, everybody kind of brands their thing a little bit different. We try to support lacrosse as a whole and be positive all the time. But, definitely encourage all parents to really do your research now. There's so many different programs and events that are being offered in every state across the country. And it's really important to understand what you're getting yourself into before you spend your hard-earned dollars on your kids' success and future.
Last question. I've only had a chance to ask this question once. We asked it of Gary Gate about having a name recognition to the company. Obviously, the Powell name in lacrosse is stellar. It's unbelievable. At the end of the name, does the name help, or is it you still got to have the product?
You definitely have to have the product. I think we're finally getting to the point that our company is becoming a lot more well known for the products that we're putting out there, for our customer service, for the way that we go about our business. That then the last name is, which has been a goal and important to us. We wanted to come out with the best lacrosse products out there. And our model here at Powell is the slow growth mode. We're not in retail stores, more like a surf company that's completely authentic to the sport. We have a slow growth model that when we feel good about a product and it's perfect, then we come out with it. We're not held to any deadlines. We want to make sure that it's right and we're putting something out that we completely stand behind.
When I watch video with my kids, when I use the Powell brothers from time to time, Mikey for reasons and Casey for reasons, I always tell them that Ryan was the best player, the smartest player. And I always show them the way you play because I don't think there's very many players that played. I think J. Gilbert would be the other one. I think that both you guys played at both ends of the field. And I think that's fun to watch. And you had a great career. And I certainly appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me on. And nice, comment about Jay Jalbert. I always respected him a lot as a player. He's hard nosed and extremely tough, and that's the way that he played the game. And I certainly tried to play that way as well. But thanks a lot for having me on.
Ryan, thank you.
I want to thank Ryan Powell for spending some time with us. We want you to check out all the stuff on Powell Lacrosse. The website is listed right below us. Up next is Chris Colin, as well as Bryce Brewbreaker. We'll be back in a second.
My name's Chris Colin, and this is the Team 91 Michigan Recruiting Minute. I once heard that recruiting for a high school kid, the best way to think about it is a college spot on a team or a scholarship is not a prize to be won, but a proper match to be made. And I think that's really good advice for anybody that's thinking about pursuing college sports. I don't think following social media, your friends, the crazy world that we live in is smart. I think you need to sit and make a plan. You need to take a real assessment of your athletic abilities. You need to take a real assessment of your athletic abilities and take a minute and then research schools and develop a relationship with those coaches, those players on the team, alumni, all those different things and find yourself where you feel that your home could be made. I think people that do that and kind of put blinders on and say, hey, I want to be an engineer, and take a look at all the engineering programs that also offer you lacrosse or marine science or anything that they want to do. If they don't know, that opens up a different world. Then you take a look at team culture, school size, and things like that. So I think step one is to remember at college, a spot on a team or a scholarship is not a prize to be won, but a proper match to be made. And that's my first piece of advice to give you. Greg, thanks for having me.
At the U.S. Center for Safe Sport, ending abuse is not just our job, it's our promise.
Hi, I'm Bryce Brubaker from 313 Lacrosse. At 313, we carry New Balance as our main lacrosse cleat. After New Balance's acquisition of Warrior in 2004, they became the de facto lacrosse cleat in the sport. This is the top of the line. This is the Freeze. This is the main shoe used across all levels of lacrosse. The one advantage this has compared to a football or soccer cleat is the Quicks rail. So this is an outside rail that allows for superior lateral movement compared to other shoes. And then this is the new one. This is the Burn X5. This is their speed cleat. Less studs for a faster player on offense. Yeah. If you're looking for a premium shoe, the Freeze 5 comes in at $139.99 and the Burn comes in at $124.99. If you're on a budget or a younger player, they also have the Rush line coming right in under $100 at $79.99 and juniors for every one of their models. This is the Freeze Junior. These are around $60. We love New Balance cleats because it caters to the lacrosse player. Where other sporting companies are more concerned with football or soccer, New Balance has always been lacrosse centered.
Up next is JD Hess. JD is going to talk to us a little bit about his career, about moving from Cranbrook to Detroit Country Day, replacing Chris Garland. And I think you'll find it a really innovative and insightful interview about a brand new and a really up-and-coming coach in the state of Michigan.
Welcome back. We are highlighting one of our high school coaches today, and we're talking to JD Hess, the great long stick midfielder from the University of Detroit Mercy, as well as Birmingham Seaholm, 2012 graduate. You're moving from the confines of Cranbrook over to the hallways of not just that far away, just up the street at Detroit Country Day, as you can see the logo behind me. And JD, first of all, I appreciate you taking the time to come and talk to us. And I guess the first easiest question is, you got beat 12-5 in the last game of 25, and now you're on the threshold of starting a new season with the team that beat you. Why'd you make the change?
Yeah, well, first off, Greg, thanks for having me on. Love the show, big fan of the show. So love what you guys do for our game, and especially in our area. It's great. Yeah, it's a good question. It's a fair question. I think it's a question that I've been asked quite a bit since this whole thing started. And it's all things start at Cranbrook for me, right? So I had an incredible 5-year run there. Loved every second of it. Really proud of what we built and what we did, and proud of the guys, proud of the kids for buying into what we were doing. I think you asked the question why, and for me it was a multi-layered decision. Ultimately, I think for myself and my family, there's some really, really great opportunities that are going to be available now at Country Day. So that's more big picture, right? Thinking family first, as always, as I do. Talking lacrosse, there's a rich culture and history of successful lacrosse at Country Day. If you're from the area, you know that. And recent history has shown, too, that it's one of the top teams, not only in the state of Michigan, but throughout the Midwest. Chris Garland did an incredible job the last 6 or 7 years of building Country Day back. And, they've made 4 straight state championships. They won 1. So I think it was a combination of a lot of different things for me. But you got a great administration over there. You've got a fantastic combination of an athletic mission combined with an academic mission. You have great kids, you have great families, you have a lot of people over there that are very invested in the the potential of these student athletes. And it's just one of those jobs that I think, comes available. You throw your hat in the ring no matter where you're at. And luckily, I'm here today. I've got my sweatshirt on right now, and it feels good to be over there. So I'm really excited.
Part of that resources, just the idea they've got indoor facilities. And there's nothing, we're talking, it's not like we're comparing, Cranbrook's obviously a great facility and they had great
For
programs
sure.
at there. And there's, I think, very similar uh, environments, landscapes, if you will, between both schools.
Yeah, I think there's tons of similarities. The two schools are natural rivals, so it's a little I love college football, so it's a little like Nick Saban-ish to go from, LSU to Bama. Obviously at a little bit smaller scale here, but there are a ton of similarities from ideologies and resources and the types of families that go there. So I feel like, the move has been very seamless just because of what I've been doing the last 5 years at a similar place. You talk about some of the resources, and obviously the indoor field house is incredible. It's state of the art. We get college games in there all the time. So that's nice to have, right? On a cold, rainy, windy, snowy day in April to be able to go in there. It's going to be really nice. But I really do come back to to kind of the bigger picture and the people. I've been lucky to work with a lot of Country Day people over the years. My first actual coaching job was with the Country Day youth program when I was still in college. So it's a little bit of a full circle thing here, and I've been able to maintain some good relationships. And it's the people. The people make that place really special. And again, I'm pumped to be a part of it.
JD, you've got an education background from University of Detroit Mercy. You've got a master's in that same discipline, obviously a Bachelor of Arts. Your started your own marketing company. Is teaching in the future, or is that just something that you're happy with where you are at the moment?
I'm happy with where I'm at for sure. I've worked pretty hard the last couple of years to build out my own marketing agency, which I'm super proud of. And that's not to say that somewhere down the line, teaching won't be something that I do. But for right now, I'm pretty happy with where I'm at personally.
Okay, now you're an attackman in high school, long stick midi. Chris Colin, your college coach, made you a midfielder and a long stick midi when you got to the University of Detroit. When you're a high school guy now, as a coach, you did have a stint on the University of Detroit Mercy coaching staff as a graduate assistant. You consider yourself an offensive guy or defensive guy?
Oh man, good question. I like to think of myself as a defensive guy.
Okay.
So, grew up playing offense, attackman, and shout out to Coach Adam Cadro from the Birmingham Bulldogs for really helping mold me into the player that I was in high school. That I think helped me in college become a long stick midi relatively seamlessly. And I was never the premier guy, the main guy on the U of D squads. I kind of like to think of myself as a glue guy on those teams. There's so many good players, so I just wanted to go out there and help any way that I could. And putting a long stick in my hands was, thanks to Chris Colin for doing that for me. That was one of the best things that's ever happened to me. But definitely developed a little bit of a defensive mindset in the college days that I like to carry over to the high school team for sure.
I always tell everybody who at Michigan State, for me in my athletic career, I was more than Rudy, but I wasn't a starter. So it's one of those discussions. You're a little
I
better
like that.
a little better than the walk on, but not quite the star. So
Yeah, no,
that's
it's
what
good.
you did.
And I will say too, it's that my experience at U of D as a player has really helped me a lot as a coach because I was not I was not the stud. I was not the main guy. I was a reserve, and I got opportunities. And when I got opportunities, I tried to make the most of them. And it reframes your brain a little bit, and it helps you relate with some of those kids on your team that Greg. Like, you need, if you have a really good high school team, it's probably because of those secondary kids, those glue guys that you can get to buy in, and you can get to help them understand that their role is still very important on the team. So it was great.
43 and 55 and one. I'll throw that out there. That Northville, that tie that you guys had late because the Cranbrook without lights in the day. I say this because if you look at Cranbrook's schedule, they're always 500. They've never been. Even Matt Wilson didn't have 21-2 teams from that perspective because they played the toughest schedule, obviously, in the state. They were a part of the Midwest for a long time, which is no longer sort of an entity, if you will. So when you look at 12 games under 500, it's really not a fair look. Now you're going to some place where they are 18-2 pretty much every year, certainly over the last 5 or 6 years. Is that something you look at, or is it just the idea that it's a different program with different ideas?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's just two different programs, right? And I think, our Cranbrook mindset was always to schedule the best teams in the state. We played in the Catholic League, so we had some built-in, tough games with Rice and CC as it is. And then we always like to challenge our players. And, typically, with my experience, 5 years at Cranbrook, it usually took us a little bit of time to kind of get rolling. It was about a good 6 weeks before we were really playing well, but you look at that schedule, we typically got better and better and better as the seasons went on. And take a look at this past Cranbrook team. We gave Country Day their toughest playoff game outside of the state championship, obviously, that they weren't able to win. East Grand Rapids played a great game against them, but I think we had a certain process there at Cranbrook that we were bought into, and it just took a little bit more time. And then, you do look at the recent success of Country Day, and they've won a ton of games and they've put themselves in really good positions. And I give, again, Chris Garland a lot of credit for that, but I also give the kids a ton of credit. Like, one thing that has really stood out to me with this senior class especially is how committed these guys are and how driven they are and how hungry they are to be successful. So the standard that's been created at Country Day, the last 4 or 5 years is, yeah, we're gonna win, 90% of the games that we're playing in, and the other 10%, we're gonna be within a couple goals. And I'm really excited to be a part of that, and hopefully, help kind of get to that next step, which is winning state championships. So that's the goal.
Well, a Country Day player watching this interview, tell me what they might not expect from you. And the follow-up question to it is, you're a new father, relatively new father. Am I correct?
Yes. Yep.
Has becoming a father changed your approach to coaching?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. This came up in the interview process with the ADs over there at Country Day. So, yeah, being a father has absolutely changed my perspective on, what's important. Why do we coach, right? And I thought I had that figured out early on, and I'd say early on I was very much considered with the wins and the losses. That was it, right? We got to win. If we lose, it's the end of the world. I'd say over the last year and a half, 2 years, right, when we found out we were going to be parents, what's really changed for me is, I think if you do things the right way, and if you have a process and you buy into that process, and you treat people well and you work hard and you do things that you want to teach your child, as a coach, you do that, the wins and losses are going to take care of themselves. So I'd say the biggest change is I'm much more process oriented, since I've become a father. And your first question on what's something that a Country Day player might not expect. I think I really pride myself. I'm being pretty even keeled, pretty steady, pretty consistent when it comes to how I approach the game and how I approach the team. So I think on game days especially, I really try to not get too high up here, get too down low here. I'm really trying to stay here because, as you know, Greg, lacrosse games can change like that, and it's our job as coaches to keep that equilibrium. So, I think that's something that I like to bring to the team, is a steady, calming presence. And yeah, we have our moments where we do get up here and we do get down here, but I think that's one thing that I've certainly developed.
I think Ted Lasso's done more to help the credibility of the coaching ranks than any other show that's been on the air in the last 20 years. Because it shows a side that most of us try to work hard towards. And sometimes we fail, certainly. But sometimes it also, if you're not watching the sports, or if you're sort of sitting in the stands, he's been a great role model, I think, for all those who are on the periphery of the sport who don't spend every day. It's not when I interview guys, it's never about wins and losses. It's always about the locker room and the bus rides.
100%. And it's those memories too. And then you've been around for the game long enough to, have guys that you coach that have their own families now and have kids, and like that's cool. That's why we do it. That's why I do it. And I love the relationship aspect of coaching. I truly, truly love building relationships, with these kids and watching them grow from, there's some seniors at Cranbrook right now who I've known since they were in third grade. It's really cool for me to be able to see the development over, the course of 8, 9, 10 years. And, that is way more important than the wins and the losses. The wins are nice, right? But it goes back to the process and doing it the right way. I think the wins take care of themselves.
My wife and I have gone to somewhere between 18 and 20 weddings from the girls that I played for me at Michigan State over the decade I was there. And you go to those weddings, and at the end of the wedding or at the end of the reception, we're in the corner someplace with a lot of the players that were all there kind of reminiscing. And sometimes parents would get mad at us because we were, enjoying the corner and all that, the accolades when the bride was sitting with all of her girlfriends, right? Sitting and lying about all kinds of stuff. But that's kind of the point of the premise of the story.
I'll say I think one of the coolest traditions we developed at Cranbrook that hopefully I can bring over to Country Day is after our last game of the season, in the playoffs, right? Which we obviously never won a state championship, so it was always a loss. We'd get home, back on campus, and the coaching staff and the seniors would go out to the oval, sit on the turf, and just talk about life, about the season. The kids would spill some things to us that we might not have been aware of. We'd have a little coach-player banter. And those are like the moments that are really cool. I think our class of 2023, we were out there until midnight, just talking. And that's really special. That's why you do it.
Well, listen, appreciate the time you spent with us. I'm hoping that your career for coaching, we're both wearing baseball hats. My team is still in the playoffs. Yours is not. So I'll leave it at that. Let's hope that the Tigers come back and that you guys have a great spring at Country Day, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Greg. Appreciate you having me on.
We are obviously here in 313, and if you can look behind me, you'll see all of the various pieces of lacrosse equipment. If you're looking for a place to do some business, this is the place. Just want to spend a couple seconds thanking Ryan Powell for coming aboard and talking with us, and it was a great interview with J.D. Hess. Chris Cullen gave you a little bit of information about recruiting, and certainly a little more about shoes from Bryce Brubaker. So we wanted to thank you guys, understanding this is a monthly show. This will be for October. Next show up will be in November, and I think we've got some really interesting guests, including the best player who ever played between the Gate brothers. Well, we'll bring you that next month, but we look forward to a good season on the start of our 5th. And for all the guys in Beck, we thank you.